Welcome back, all my new subscribers, old subscribers, and everybody in between. And today, I guess there's this thing going around on the internet called Tandy, Tandy month. I guess September is Tandy Computer Month. And if you don't know what Tandy is, that was the Radio Shack back in the 90s, Radio Shack's version of a computer line back in the, started out in the 70s and in 80s. Radio Shack's line of computers right there. This is about what I had as a kid growing up back in the 90s. But of course, mine had also a 5 1/4 inch floppy drive when I was a kid, and it was the very first computer I ever used at home as a child. Because back in the 90s, my parents didn't have much. We were kind of like lower middle class family, and we got for free from somebody an old desktop computer, an old Tandy computer. By then it was old and outdated, but and I learned from that how to do computer stuff on a Tandy computer at home, and I used to remember as a kid spending hours and hours of playing all kinds of games, drawing and stuff. I'll show you one of the things here. I remember as a kid playing Hangman on a Tandy computer. That's what the user face used to look like, and I remember as a kid Tandy Draw. This was my first introduction to drawing programs on any kind of computer. Decimates Draw, they just called it Draw at the time. And then as a kid I used to play also Indianapolis 500 on the Tandy computer, and of course F-19 Stealth Fighter. And the reason why I'm making this video is so people can come back to it years later and see somebody talking about their experience with the Tandy computer. And I was about 4 or 5 years old as a kid. I was very young, about toddler age, and it was the very first computer I ever got to play with, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, I remember, like I said, spending hours and hours playing all kinds of games on it, drawing, messing around with the calculator. You're on there messing with the calendar apps, and I think it had some accounting software on it too. And I remember it came with a keyboard and a graphical mouse and printer. Of course, we never could get the printer to work because we didn't have the proper, at the time, driver files on the computer to get the printer to work and stuff. And so my dad gave it to a friend that had a Tandy computer, and the printer, of course, worked on his Tandy computer because it was compatible and it had the proper software and driver files to run this printer. But I remember as a kid drawing it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, And that was back in the early 90s, probably about 95, 96, somewhere around that. And then after the Tandy computer, and then my dad got another computer that had Windows 3.11 on it, and we had Windows 3.11 on it for a short while. Then my dad had the computer upgraded to the modern standard operating system Windows 95. Because my dad was one of those people. He was born in 1957. He didn't know a whole lot about computers because his generation kind of didn't know computers. And then when he got the Tandy computer, he realized how important it was for his children to learn and understand the computer world, because he realized computers were here to stay. And he even liked it because the reason why we had upgraded to a newer computer, because he wanted to learn all about the internet, and he ended up becoming fascinated with the World Wide Web Internet Explorer. Because I remember the other computer we had was upgraded to Windows 95. It was originally had Windows 3.11, then it was upgraded to Windows 95, which at the time was the current Windows operating system you could get. And my dad spent a whole lot of money upgrading to a newer computer. But yeah, I remember as a kid spending hours in enjoyment on a Tandy 1000 computer like I just showed, and I really enjoyed it. I remember as a kid, it's one of those things, years later my mother got rid of it to Goodwill, and it's one of those things I wish I had that wish I had that Tandy computer nowadays, and all the peripheral add-ons you could get for that back in the day. Because man, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and everything. And it's one of those. I wish I had it nowadays, that computer, but unfortunately I don't. But I just thought I'd give a little history about my experience with Tandy computers and stuff. When I got the Tandy computer as a kid, when we got it as a family, by then Radio Shack had already ended the Tandy line of computers. Like, they were already defunct and had recently went out of business, and of course Tandy sold their computer line off to another company. I can't remember which one it is. I think it was AST or something like that. I could research it later on. But anyways, I thought I'd share my thoughts and opinion for Tandy Month about my experience with the Tandy computer, and I have nothing but good things to say about Tandy computer. I can tell you right now, some of the things that Tandy was able to do, and their graphics is what got me. Because back then, when Tandy was making their graphical computers, it was amazing. Like, if I had the two computers, I thought if I ever had to today choose two computers to play vintage DOS games and stuff on, the Tandy computer to me would be the number one. From all the research I've done, would be the number one computer I would love to have for old vintage DOS games. And then, of course, a Commodore computer, a Commodore VC20 or Commodore 64 would be one of my other types of computers I would personally love to have as for a vintage computer. If I was going to have a vintage computer, I'd either have a Tandy or a Commodore computer. And then, of course, since I'm familiar with Windows, I'd love to have again sometime an old Windows 95 and Windows 3.11 computer as well. But yeah, I thought I'd make a quick little video about my experience with Tandy computers. And if you like more of these kind of videos, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I hope you all have a beautiful and wonderful day. And have a good weekend.